it going? I am the real Manos. I am a YouTuber, a Gen Xer. I have the proof. I have my ID right here. Look! It has the lifetime music guarantee on here from Mothers. That means if this gets a scratch on it tomorrow, I could return it. So, alright. Hey, I'm not talking about that. I am talking about Avatar, The Last Airbender. Now, it is a animated show I did not grow up with. When it was on the air, I was in my 30s. I've checked the air dates, and knowing what I remember about my life, I was not at home a lot watching TV, so I did not have the opportunity to get into the show. And I had heard of how good it was and what a strong fan base it was, and I figured eventually I'd get to see reruns. Nickelodeon didn't seem to air them as much as I would have thought, and the DVDs weren't as easily available to me, so I just waited when streaming became a thing. I waited for it to become on streaming. It wasn't there. And then I had the choice, was I going to buy expensive DVDs to watch a show I didn't know anything about? Matter of fact, I didn't know anything about Avatar for the longest time, with the exception that Korra ends up with Asami at the end of her series. That's not because of any kind of spoiling problems. It's just hey, the internet just exploded about that when it happened. So it was impossible to notice. It was impossible not to notice. So, matter of fact, I knew so little about the Avatar universe, I actually thought Katara was Korra for the longest time. It's oh, that's nice. They gave the Water Girl her own spin-off. It wasn't until a couple years later that I realized that they were completely different people. So, here we go. A couple of months ago in the spring, I shouldn't say longer than a couple of months ago, it was in the spring, Netflix premiered Avatar, and I immediately got on that because this is a show I've been curious about forever. Matter of fact, a few months before, about around, it was December during Christmas holiday shopping time, I was in a store and I picked up a copy, this really nice box set. It was a $50 box set that had the complete Avatar, The Last Airbender, and The Legend of Korra, all for $50. And I thought, oh, that's a really good deal. I haven't seen the show except for maybe 2 minutes. I knew objectively it was good, but would I like it? And should I spend $50 on something I'd never really seen before? If it was $20, yeah. So, luckily, I didn't have to make that decision, thanks to Netflix. So, let's get into it here. We're going to be talking about the first season, also known as Book 1. And let's get a little bit going in case you don't know what the details are. Are you a impending 2020 fan like me? The TV show was, of course, a Nickelodeon series that ran from, I believe, 2005 to 2008. It was created by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Kamizuko. Forgive me if I twist that name, sorry. Has the voice talents of Zach Tyler as Aang, Mae Whitman as Katara, Jack DeSena as Sokka, Dante Bosco as Prince Zuko, Mako as Uncle Iroh, and Grey Griffin as Princess Azula. Now, the premise is kind of simple and really well laid out in the intro, the extended intro for the first episode, and then the shortened one for the rest of the series. And that this is a alternate Earth made up of 4 nations. The Fire Nation, the Air Nomads, the Earth Kingdom, and the 2 water tribes, the North and South water tribes. And on this Earth, there are those among the populace who have the ability to bend the environments. Elements, I should say, excuse me. And there's only one that can bend all 4 elements, and that is the Avatar. And the Avatar's role is to maintain balance and order among the 4 nations. And then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. The then Avatar, Roku, disappeared, and the replacement for him, a avatar from the airbending nomads, never appeared, and there was a 100-year war concerning this. 100 years later, 2 teenagers, brother and sister from the Southern Water Tribe, discover a boy in an iceberg, Captain America style, along with his flying bison, which were indicative of the air nomads. They soon figure out that this young airbender was Aang, and he is the Avatar. He is the last airbender. Katara is excited because her nation has been decimated from constant raids of the Fire Nation, trying to extinguish as many waterbenders as they could. The Southern Water Tribe seems to be more vulnerable than the northern one. I guess it was more fortified, it was a little bit stronger, harder of a target to deal with than the Southern Water Tribe. So they, of course, picked on the easier of the two. Katara is, as what we can tell, the last remaining waterbender of the Southern Water Tribe. And she and her brother Sokka are all excited to help Aang regain his position as the Avatar and defeat the Fire Nation, prevent them from ruling a world by defeating Fire Lord Ozai. Now, that sounds great and all, but there's actually two problems with that plan. Number one, Prince Zuko of the Fire Nation has been tasked to find and stop the Avatar. Otherwise, he won't get back his missing honor, and he really wants that back, and he's a pretty stubborn guy. So, till he does it, he can't come home. And the second problem is Aang hasn't figured out the other three fire-bending, water-bending, and earth-bending abilities yet. And he's been kind of dragging his heels on being the Avatar himself. So, hey, with that all said, thus begins their quest to save the world. Now, this portion of my review is going to be a little bit more off the cuff and less scripted, because I kind of just want to get into various things about the show. So, like I said, we go off on an adventure, almost a call to adventure, Joseph Campbell style, with Aang, Sokka, and Katara finding their mission and quest for life. So they go about it. And the book or season mostly is a series of lighthearted or tense adventures without getting too serious, with one exception. The first thing they do in episode 3 or 4, I believe it is, they go to Aang's home at his air temple, and that's where we discover the massacre, the genocide that had been performed by the Fire Nation on the air nomads. And the show, like I said, kind of starts out fun, and then we're hit over the head by the weight of the situation, what is waiting for them, the dangers that are in this world for them, and what they're risking. It's very serious, it's done very thoughtfully, and it doesn't make a too direct comparison to our own Holocaust in the 20th century, but if you're an adult watching this, your mind goes right to there. And for kids watching this, this is very important for them to see that, this can happen and what it means to people. And that scene where Aang realizes it's happened and he loses it for a minute and achieves the Avatar state. And how Katara and Sokka are able to talk him down. They've been together for a couple episodes, but this is the moment where they bonded for life, became a family, became a unit. These three were going to die for each other, or live for each other. And it's a beautiful and touching and sad moment. And if you were kind of sort of getting into the show, that's definitely the moment. And I appreciate the fact that it comes so early in the series, because after that we go into more fun adventures. And what I love about the fact that this is the cool thing about taking your hero on a quest or a chase or some kind of on the road type of story, is that it gives you a chance to show off your universe as naturally as possible. And the quests go from the southern water tribe to the northern water tribe to teach Aang proper water bending, and Qatar, who also is a wonderbender, this is also very helpful for her, and it doesn't forget that. It's very wise to not ignore its supporting characters in the way. It's not all about Aang. And we get to see, like, a lot of the Earth Kingdom in this, as they're being chased by Zuko, who, by the way, is on them pretty tightly. I mean, there's, like, this world is, like, of the 19th century, I'd say, and he's able to track them pretty thoroughly. Over water, over land, doesn't matter. He's very good at his job. So we get to see the various portions of the Water Tribes, the Earth Kingdom. We get to see a little bit of the Fire Nation. And what I really like is we get to see several different sides of how this war, this 100-year war, decades of fighting and being on the defensive of the Fire Nation. They've colonized some portions of the Earth Kingdom. They've decimated the Water Tribe. They have Ba Sing Se and the Northern Water Tribe on full defense, and they've reacted in their ways. But also we get to see characters individually, like Jet, for instance. We get to see characters who you would think, as rebels, would, of course, be good guys, but we've seen how some people have reacted to years of colonization and war and authoritarian rule, is that people act out of desperation, out of fear, out of anger, and it doesn't even matter if it's a noble cause. It can be turned, like for instance, like Jet. He and his crew set out to murder innocent people. Yeah, they are of the Fire Nation, but they're not the government. They're not the ones that killed his family. They're innocent men and women and children that he sets out to kill, and it's a very important distinction. We also get to see various different characters like Suki and the Kyoshi Island, the Kyoshi warriors. We get to learn a little bit more about Roku. We get to learn about the whole line, and it's nicely explained. And because Aang is a new Avatar and didn't get the full Avatar 101 lesson, we get to learn as he learns about the Avatar state, about the connection to the previous Avatars, and so on and so forth. And also the fact that some kingdoms, some lands don't particularly like the Avatar. That's something I also like as well. Just because this is our hero and always stands for right doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. So, we get into the, I believe, oh no, I'm sorry, that's, Avatar Day is in Book 2, I'll talk about that next time. But we do see different reactions. Some people are very disappointed in Aang on how he disappeared for years. Also, we get to see the beginnings, while Zuko is chasing Aang, we get to see the beginnings of their friendship and the cracks in his faith in his own people and his faith in his father. Iroh is there to kind of essentially guide him along. And yeah, Zuko is essentially the main antagonist at the beginning, but Iroh's right there, and he does give off this vibe of not being overtly evil or anything like that. He's actually kind of a kind, funny person that's very supportive of Zuko, and through him we kind of learn what is Zuko's deal and why he is so adamant about catching the Avatar. We get to learn his side, and we get to see that he's been a victim just as much as some of the other heroes of the show. And of course that leads into the beginnings. The show ends with the beginnings of his redemption arc, of him realizing that he is on the wrong side, and restoring his honor isn't just as simple as getting the Avatar like he had originally thought, like he had been taught, like he had been just programmed like a Terminator to go get this guy. And he realizes he's not the bad guy, and I may be working with the bad guys. It ends really well. It doesn't fully redeem him. It's smart enough to get that started here at the end of the series. And of course, speaking at the end, we finally get to the Northern Water Tribe, and what I like about that is the Northern Water Tribe is thought of as this really great place we have to go to learn water bending. And it has a very patriarchal kind of rule where Qatar is not allowed to learn waterbending, and it may let's see, the show kind of like changes things with Paku, who is the main teacher who won't give in, he is very, I don't want to say smarmy, but he's very cruel in his bigotry towards women and hatred towards women. That's kind of changed when it's like, oh wait, would have been my granddaughter? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't. It does about face a little bit quick. Although one of my favorite things is when Qatar and Paku are talking, and he is realizing, that he lost the love of his life because of the way he is and the way his society is. I love how Qatar isn't gentle about like his stupid traditions, like no respect for it. But it's great. I love that. Of course, Sokka goes from being a kind of a sexist character as well at the very beginning, and you see that kind of whittle away as he learns when he meets Suki and the Kyoshi Warriors, as well as like working alongside of his sister throughout all these adventures. You see him develop as someone who has kind of a toxic masculinity, and he develops as a person. He kind of, it doesn't really we don't have too many moments where it's blatantly stated of his development. It's very nicely shown as we go. And it's not complete by the end of book one, but you definitely get to see the starts of it, much like some of the other characters. Wow, this has been a terrific first season. There's a whole bunch of fun episodes. We get to meet some of the spirit characters. Iroh is just hilarious from beginning to end. One of my favorite scenes is one of the favorite episodes is the storm, where we get to see the backstories of Aang and Zuko kind of told in this method of kind of intertwining them and separate. There's two things going on. Aang's dealing with this literal storm that's kind of like bringing things back for him, because that's how he got lost. He got lost in the middle of the storm, as well as in the same storm, the crew of Zuko's ship are taking a break, and Iroh is telling them like why Zuko is so intense, and he's kind of explaining them, and it's a nice bonding moment for the crew, by the way, and Iroh, and of course for us. And this show is very let's see, it does a lot of kind of like telling us these two guys are on a very similar path, and then we get to like the Blue Spirit episode where it shows that they might be friends. So it's a very clear distinction. Now, of course, we get to like the big climax where we have like so much going on, and that last 3 episodes is almost enough of a season in and of itself. Where we get to the Water Tribe, we of course start learning the fundamentals and developing waterbending for both Aang and Qatar. We get, of course, Sokka's relationship with the princess, and man, I don't want to spoil too much in case you haven't watched book 1, but it ends on such almost it ends with a tragedy, which also kind of like helps the rest of the characters in the universe move on. So it's sad and beautiful at the same time, which this show does that kind of thing quite a bit. So yeah, I'm kind of a big fan. I was really, within a couple episodes, I was captivated, and once I was done with book 1, I was like all in. Let's keep doing this show. Overall thoughts. Book 1 does a brilliant job of laying down the groundwork and doing a lot of world building, not only for the TV show, but for what feels like a lived-in universe. It's very thoughtful and patient about the way it goes about it. It uses its 20 episodes wisely. It's a serialized TV show, but it just doesn't stay on the exact story. It gives it breathing room to have episodic adventures, so things don't get dry and muddled and boring, which I'll be honest, a lot of serialized TV shows can if they stay too hard on their one story. This does not do that, obviously. Avatar: The Last Airbender Book 1 does an absolute amazing job getting the show started on an impressive start. I'm going to give it a strong 4 out of 5 Ram chips. And hey, have you watched the show yet? Are you a new or old fan? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, hit the notification bell, subscribe to The Real Manos, because YouTube only pays attention to those things. So I need that. So, hey, also, where is it? Hey, I'm a comic book creator. I write the Red Knight for Manos Publishing. It's available in print and digital. You can get it there. Also, you can find me everywhere. On Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Even started a TikTok. And you can support The Real Manos and Manos Publishing at, I think it's Patreon? That's what it's called? Patreon. So, with that said, we're going to move on to talking about Book 2 and so on and so forth. So, push the button, Lindsay.